What's good, brothers and sisters? This is the Godfather Nate Milton, and you are listening to Andrew Thompson Interviews, proudly presented by the Kings of Sport. Talk to him, nephew. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages. This is what you've been waiting for. This is what the people have been clamoring for. And as a wise man once said back in the day, you got to give the people what they want. And what they want is Andrew Thompson Interviews presented by the Kings of Sport. Yes, this is the top secret project that Andrew Thompson and I have been working on for the last few months, a way to not only provide more content here at the Kings of Sport Network, but also to give you the goodness of Andrew Thompson Interviews in audio form. Because I know a lot of people, are on the way to work or back from work on their lunch breaks, and they're working out, and they need something good in their ears. So that is why we have decided to bring this out. But let me not waste time. Let me bring out the brother whose name is on this program, the man who some people have called Scoops for his ability to go out there and get this news for you. You know him from Post Wrestling, where not only does he provide all the news that's fit to read for Post, but he is 1/4 of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, and he is also the host of his own YouTube channel, Andrew Thompson Interviews. Y'all give it up for my nephew, the youngest in charge, Andrew Thompson. What's good, brother?
My Uncle Nate, I appreciate you allowing me on the Kings of Sport platform. It's a great honor, man, to be joined with yourself, Brother Chris, Ray Saber Jr. It's always a pleasure, man, and I'm grateful to be able to, for you guys to allow the audio version of Andrew Thompson Interviews here on the Kings of Sport for the beautiful subscribers, Patreon members, and just listeners in general.
And I thank you, Andrew, for paying the $100 fee for this show to be on this network. Because, as much as I love you, nephew, as much as I love you, the game is to be sold and not told. So I appreciate you breaking bread and paying us that $100 hosting fee for this show to be out here. That's an inside joke that we're not going to get into, brother.
I was just about to say that. That is an inside joke that I think it's best that we keep that, in-house. But just to clarify, that had nothing to do with our interview subject today. It has nothing to do with that individual.
Absolutely not.
It's some other stuff, but wrestling is wrestling, man. Here we go.
Yeah, wrestling is wrestling, and so that's why I was glad, Andrew, when we kind of touched base a few months ago, man. Like, we definitely want to have a more of a presence of Andrew here at the Kings of Sport. But, y'all know this, man. He covers all the wrestling that's out there, whether it's in America, Japan, Mexico. His brother is writing news stories for Post Wrestling 7 days a week. And then y'all know my schedule. Like, I'm busy at the shoot job, working 50 some hours a week. And so it's like, we want to do more stuff with the nephew, but we just don't have the time. What's something that we could do that, works for both of our schedules and also gives you as the audience some more Andrew Thompson content? And we were like, wait a minute. This man, Andrew Thompson, been interviewing wrestlers for years and years. And it's always a good interview whenever you hear Andrew talk to these cats. And I was like, well, what if we've got the YouTube version? We've got the printed version, which you can find at Post Wrestling. What if we had an audio component to Andrew Thompson Interviews where we set up the interview, we let y'all hear the interview, and then we come back on the other side with thoughts? It's almost like, Andrew, this is the director's commentary of Andrew Thompson Interviews, because you get to maybe hear some how you were feeling that day when you did the interview, maybe some behind the scenes stories that we can tell about what you were doing that day. And then on the other side, we can talk about, what you look forward to for the person's career that you talk to. So I think it's a good idea, and I'm glad we were able to join forces on this, nephew.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I also heard from a source, man, that you have a story of your own regarding this individual who we gonna have on the podcast feed today.
Yes, I do. We're gonna save that for the end of the show. But let's go ahead and talk about your subject for this edition of Andrew Thompson Interviews, nephew. Obviously, if you're looking at the the information. You know who it is already. But this is a brother who I've been very impressed with, particularly the last few years. You can see a lot of his work primarily in MLW, where he is a former MLW champion. And he is a all-around good dude because, as we know, nephew, Boomaye is for the people. So before we get to the actual interview, tell these people a little bit about the suplex assassin himself, one brother Alex Kane.
Yeah, man, Alex Kane, former MLW National Openweight Champion, former MLW World Heavyweight Champion, held the belt for 210 days. Dropped the belt to the legend Satoshi Kojima this past February. Alex is a rising star. You know, he's on his way up. Of course, he's still working the indies as well. He is prominently, like, regularly featured, I would say, in the action wrestling promotion based in Georgia, home of Nate's Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
There you go. Little bit of tidbit information right there for you people, football information. But yeah, man, Alex is a very standout talent. Like, when I'm thinking about, like, his career trajectory over the past couple of years, it's funny because I remember I first interviewed him back in November 2021, and that was right before he won the National Openweight Championship for the first time. And he was talking about, like, all his, like, aspirations and his, like, what he wanted to accomplish in MLW and, like, some of his dreams and, like, what did he expected out of his MLW run over the next couple of years. And, like, this dude, like, literally manifested everything that he said he wanted to accomplish. And he said that he wanted to be the MLW World Heavyweight Champion, and he did that. And they didn't give him some, like, lackluster run. Dude had the belt for 210 days, had a lot of title defenses. And then on top of that, if you're going to drop the belt to somebody, Satoshi Kojima, man, like, you dropping the belt to a legend. So, I mean, what a great way to sort of wrap that up. And, you know, me and Alex, we talked a lot about a lot of different things. I'll sort of let you lead the pack on sort of, you know, where we want to go with the rest of this, this director's cut edition of the podcast interview.
So real quick, before we actually let the folks listen to the interview itself, nephew, can you set up just kind of where this took place, kind of your mood going into the interview, and your thoughts going in, like, because you obviously talked to this brother before, but, you know, that was a couple years ago. So what was your goal for this interview that might have been different from the first time you talked to Alex Kane?
That's a good question. So this happened at T.
You know, this ain't my first rodeo, nephew. I know how to ask a question or two, brother.
Oh yeah, you done been here before, Nate. And Nate done been here before, man. You know, $100 worth of game. but yeah, this happened at T. Martin's, the gathering in Charlotte, North Carolina. They do this event every year. That was also, Nate, the same event where I interviewed Chris Hero. You know, the infamous Chris Hero interview. Shout out to that man, Chris Hero, who's working at AEW right now. But yeah, I saw Alex at the stand. He was with this vendor named Ruby Ringside. I believe it was a mother and her young child, who is obviously Ruby in that scenario. And actually, there's a portion, just a little behind the scenes note right here. And this is why I like this part of the podcast, very, so I can tell this story. The young lady who is Ruby and the Ruby Ringside vendor, Alex had just did an interview with her. She had to be like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh wow!
Like so Alex had did an interview with her, and she was at the vendor's table where Alex was sitting there with her mom. And then there's another portion of the video in the interview on my YouTube. It's not in the YouTube cut, but I have the original version where, like, Alex, like, invites her over. And and I was like, she had said some words or whatever, and Alex talked about the interview he did with her, which is real cool. And I was like, "Hey, Ruby, you got any words for the people before we sign off?" She was like, "Boomaye." The reason I didn't include that, because I didn't, like, just want to have somebody, like, random child, like, in my YouTube video. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't be wanting to put children and stuff like that, even though she does her interviews on her own. But, like, you know what I'm saying?
Plus, Ruby a businesswoman on these streets too, nephew. You know, she would have charged you $100 to post that.
Oh my goodness! But I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, one of these days, let's say the next interview we do, we gonna tell that story. Well, once we get the ball moving on this thing. But yeah, man, the interview overall, it was a good time. I had saw Alex, and actually it was funny because I didn't think that when I went up to him and introduced myself, I didn't think he was gonna remember me, but he did remember me, and that was real cool. He said he remembered the interview we did, and he remembered my face and stuff. And I had actually saw Alex, I think, 1 or 2 times throughout the weekend. You know, we dapped up and stuff, little quick exchanges. Real cool dude, chill dude. I act the same way, like online persona, like, you know, just not persona, but like act the same way as you would see online, real presentable, respectable, like just cool dude. Like, you know, the interview kind of, it just flowed. It didn't feel like I didn't feel any. I had those like good nerves. Like, it wasn't like I was nervous to speak to him, but it was more so about like, okay, I feel good about it. I'm excited to do this. And that's more so the nervous energy that I was feeling. And then once the camera get rolling, like, you ain't got no time to be scared. You just got to do the shit. So yeah, that was my experience interviewing Alex Kane.
Yes, good stuff, nephew. I'm excited. I've already heard the interview and I've watched the interview on YouTube. So it's good stuff. Subscribe to Andrew's YouTube channel. And also you can read the transcript over at Post Wrestling. But now, nephew, let's not waste any time. Let's get to the main event, because this is the first edition of the Andrew Thompson interviews presented by the Kings of Sport. And Andrew's very first interview subject is the one and only Suplex assassin himself, Alex Kane. So we're going to play the interview now, and then on the other side, nephew and I will be back to share some other thoughts, and I'm going to drop that story from my prior interaction with Brother Kane. So stay tuned, check out the interview, and we'll be back on the other side.
What's going on, everybody? Andrew Thompson here from the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. I'm here, the man who has won the MLW National Openweight, MLW World Heavyweight Championship, held it for 210 days, the man himself, Alex Kane. Our second interview together, man.
Yep,
the first time, and this one's live. How you feeling today, boss, man?
I'm feeling good, man. It's my very first convention. Been recognized by a few people, which is always cool. You know, only being 6 years in business, to, you know, have caught a few people's eyes, really, really dope. And, you know, I'm just excited to be here. So, you know, we're just here to have a good time, man.
What's up, man? That's what's up. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. But, like, first off, like I said, it's been 3 years since we last did an interview. I think it was November 2021. And I think that was right before you had just got the National Openweight title. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about these last 3 years, man, that you've been in MLW. You won the National Openweight. You won the MLW World Heavyweight title. Like I said, 210 days. Just walk me through these last 3 years and what it's been like for your career.
Man, it has been insane. It's been a really, really cool transformation for myself, really finding myself as a character, you know, creating a movement, putting on like a good bit of black representation, which we all need in professional wrestling. We need more of it. You know, and just, you know, trying to change people's lives, you know, one suplex at a time. That's a tagline. That's a t-shirt right there. Change people's lives one suplex at a time. No, man, MLW has been great to me. I'm excited about this fourth year, going in, seeing what we can make happen, what we got cracking. Man, I ain't never got a problem with talking until it's a one-on-one interview.
But like you said, you had mentioned something very important, that black representation in wrestling, man. I think that's been something it's always been prominent, but I think just over the last, I say like 4 or 5 years, that's when you've seen that those conversations like more so just rise to the forefront. And you also have a lot of individuals who are not black that are getting into this conversation as well and speaking out on, and on top of, you know, what we'll be pushing as well. Talk to me about how important that's been for you, and throughout your entire career, but also just throughout this period that I was just referencing, like how these things how that conversation that just rose into prominence, and like how important it is for you to be a representative of black wrestling.
Yeah, like that was the focus for me in my entire reign. Also, telling great stories and stuff like that. That was great for my title reign. But you know, the entrance, which I miss, I think I'm just gonna bring back, just because I don't need the belt to have the entrance. But just having that many black faces on the screen, you know, people, you know, be like, oh, I know that guy, you know, or girl, on the screen was really, really dope for me. I think it was probably one of the most iconic entrances ever. And you know, it just allowed me to be able to put, you know, people on in a sense, which is what I've always ever wanted to do. So I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to put more black faces on the screen, for everybody to see.
And like we were going back to MLW, you won the battle ride. Yep. You're currently in the Opera Cup. You made it to the second round. You just beat Mr. Thomas.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure there's a part of you that was like, I had to do it to my boy. I mean, who was formerly a member of Boomaye Fight Club, or under your reign. But like, talk to me about like what else is there next for Alex Kane in MLW? Like it's like you had this very quick trajectory, and I know for some people, just in like, it ain't even got to be in wrestling, it could just be in life in general, basketball, football. You hit this peak so early in a certain place, not in your entire career, but just a certain place, and then it's like, okay, damn, did that. Like, what's next?
Man, I want to win the World Tag Team titles with Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, he hasn't held a whole lot of gold, I don't think, in his career. And he's done so much for me within MLW, so I would like to make a run at the World Tag Team titles with my boy, and win the world title again as well. So that's what we're trying to do here with winning the Opera Cup. And hell, if I can, I'll win the National Openweight title too again.
I'm about to say, and then I know the next couple of events you guys got like Summer of the Beast and Slaughterhouse, and what's the one in ATL?
Actually,
Fightland. So talk to me about like how, I mean, just sort of the growth of MLW since the time that you've been there, the improvements that you've seen, things that you like, things that you dislike, not necessarily on a negative scale, but just more so on a professional standpoint, like just about the things that you've seen in MLW over the last couple of years.
I just from like a backstage perspective, just how cool everybody is. We don't have, as Ricky Shane Page would put it, even though he's not with MLW anymore, we don't have any dickheads in our locker room, and it's a beautiful thing. Everybody comes in, does what they need to do. We have a good time. We watch each other's matches. We give each other critiques where we can give critiques. Some people don't like taking critiques, and that's fine. I like the production. The writing has gotten 1,000 times better. Not saying it was bad before. But it's gotten better. Everything can always get better. I just like everything about MLW, man. I would like to add some more people to the Boomaye Fight Club. But there are certain people who are stopping that from happening. We got to fix that. But there's more people in the Boomaye Fight Club. That's the thing I would change. More people in the Boomaye Fight Club.
I would say now, of course, Alex, you are still very, very young in your career, still very, very young in life. Are there like any aspirations to like seek out like what else could be out there for Alex Kane? Not more so like you.
Kane is trying to get to the money, wherever the money is, whether it's WWE, AEW, Japan, TNA, it don't matter, or MLW, wherever the money is, Alex Kane is trying to go. Also to where I can make an impact, no pun intended, but, where I can make an impact, just not be a guy on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot to offer all of the wrestling organizations in the world, and I would like to capitalize on that as much as I possibly can.
And I know on top of, you doing your work in MLW, you've been working the indies, of course. I see one promotion that you always kind of frequent in is Action Wrestling down in Georgia. Shout out to Matt Griffin, man. But like, talk to me about like with that promotion, like what separates Action Wrestling from a lot of other different promotions out there. It seems like you're very, very frequent there, and also a lot of other wrestlers. Shout out to AC Mack. I know who just retired not too long ago. Talk to me about like what's Action Wrestling like, and I guess the importance of that promotion to you.
So Action Wrestling is out of Georgia. Okay, cool. That's wild. Action Wrestling is out of Atlanta, Georgia. And the thing that I love about Action is it's not focused on being the best in the state. It's focused on being the best in the country, best in the world. Because we've sent some wrestlers over to Germany, to do like a showcase and stuff like that. So that's dope. Matt Griffin has always been a fan of highlighting everybody, no matter what creed you are, what race you are, what gender you come from. You know what I'm saying? And I really, really love that about him. I think the first Action champion was AC Mack. Me being a former Action champion is dope as hell. And like I said, he's always trying to be the best in the country. He brings in talent from all over, whoever is hot or whatever he's bringing in. He's not trying to like gatekeep anything. And I think that's really, really dope. And he's really created a really, really awesome platform for all of us to have and to be a part of.
And talk to me real quick about this storyline that played out with AJ Francis, man. Like he was talking a lot of smack about you in some of these interviews, man. Like anything you got to say to AJ, and basically how you guys got to flesh that whole storyline out.
Man, working with AJ was really, really dope. It was a really, really good story. I've even told him this. That first promo that I did, there's a lot of things that I didn't have to say, but I said anyway, and I kind of regret those things. But it set the stage for a really, really good, entertaining story. And I always akin it to the first Black Panther movie. The match in Florida was like that first fight that Killmonger and T'Challa had, where you think T'Challa's dead, but then he comes back and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And that's what the match in Atlanta was. The fight for the throne of Boumaye. It's definitely one of my favorite matches. It's in my top 2 of MLW matches that I had. Number 1 is with Jacob Fatu.
Man, that's what's up. And lastly here, before we wrap up, Alex, I wanted to ask you about the match that you had with Satoshi Kojima for the MLW World Heavyweight title. What was it like mixing it up with a legend like Kojima, man?
Man, it was cool. It was, the crazy thing to me was I was so nervous about, putting the match together. And I literally strolled in. Kojima was there. Kojima is so nice to me. He's always been so nice to me. He's always been, very respectful of me and as I've been of him. He always compliments my gear. He thinks my gear is amazing, and I love it. And then we text a little bit on Twitter sometimes. But besides that, Kojima, he actually watched my stuff. He watched my stuff. He put it together. He knew what my big moves were and stuff like that. We put it together. We went up there. We made magic. The thing I liked the most about that title change was, nobody saw it coming. People were audibly shocked that it happened. I could hear, laying there after being pinned, and just hearing the crowd or whatever, it was just silence for a little bit. They came back up to celebrate. It was silence. They were like, holy shit, that really happened. So, and I also think that I was champ for long enough. I never said to anybody I want to be the longest reigning. It was on the list of Boumaye, but that's a gimmick. But in real life, I never wanted it to be super long. I just wanted it to make an impact. Sorry, I'm moving out of camera. I just wanted to make an impact, and I think that it did that. Whatever. It was a very memorable title reign, very memorable stories. And when I win it again, that's what I want too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The nephew, the youngest in charge, Andrew Thompson, sitting down and chopping it up with the suplex assassin himself, Mr. Alex Kane. Nephew, that was a good interview. We didn't expect anything less from you. But kind of on the other side, earlier we talked about kind of your thoughts going in to the conversation with Alex. Once you did the interview, what were some thoughts that you had afterwards?
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I think it was it's always interesting when you do these sort of double or triple interviews with repeat guests, and you get to speak to them on different occasions throughout their respective careers. It was interesting to see where Alex had come from the 2021 interview that we did, and you and I had talked about it on in the intro about how this dude basically manifested everything that he wanted to happen, and then now he's currently in the Alpha Cup tournament. And he's going to be trying to challenge for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship again, possibly become a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, man. So yeah, and also Nate, one of the highlights, man, is something I think you appreciated, that Alex, he wasn't closed-minded in the sense of I was asking him about where could you see yourself in X amount of years, and he was like, dude, AEW, WWE, TNA. He was like, wherever the money at. That's where I'm trying to go. And I know that's something you appreciate to see from a lot of the younger wrestlers, not being there's nothing wrong with showing loyalty to MLW. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that at all. Especially since they treating them well and giving them so much. And they had, what's the famous, the name is slipping my name right now. The name is slipping my mind right now. What's the famous boxer promoter that they brought in for Boom
Don King.
Fight Club? Don King. I forgot about Don King name. But yeah, they brought in Don King. Yep. If they willing to bring in Don King for you, You know what I'm saying? Like
I brought in Don King and Faye Jackson on these streets.
And Faye Jackson. You know
Salute to Faye.
So yeah, man. Like it's cool to see that.
Creep Squad all day. Yeah, that was a time, nephew. Creep Squad versus Wholesome Gang. That was Suge D.
It was Suge D and them. Yeah, shout out to Faye.
That was the trial of Faye Jackson, man. Pandemic wrestling was a whole nother lifestyle,
bro. Pandemic. There was a lot of bad in the pandemic, but I think a lot of us have and as example by the people that you just mentioned, have a lot of personality to make a lot of good out of bad situations. So yeah, the trial of Faye Jackson was definitely a highlight.
You had to be there.
And also, Nate, you can check out my interview with Faye Jackson on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel from 2019. On the Post Wrestling website. But yeah, going back to Alex, yeah, he was very open minded about what his future is, and he's just like, dude, wherever the money at, that's what I'm trying to be at.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I like about Alex is obviously he's a great performer, but I like wrestlers who are intentional about their character and thoughtful about their character. So like, he mentioned, the Boomaye Fight Club. He mentioned, the entrance that he had, and how, he thought it was special and he wanted to bring it back. And just the idea where he's like, yeah, like, of course I love being champion, but it was not my intention to, be this long running champion. I just wanted to have a good title reign. Which is what he had, man. So I think he's a thoughtful young cat, man, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for Alex Kane. And that brings us back around, nephew. I mentioned earlier, I had a little story. I'm not going to say it's a great story, but it's a story about the first time I ever met and interacted with Alex Kane. So, we talked about pandemic wrestling. This was like 2019. Maybe early 2019. So like we're just pre-pandemic. Like Rudy Gobert hasn't set COVID out on the world yet. Because it was all Rudy Gobert's fault, man. But I was asked to be a guest on a wrestling show, and I can't remember the name of the guys that hosted the show. This was back kind of when I was working with the cat out in California named Felix Olmedo. For Pipe Bomb Radio, it was Felix Olmedo, and then it was myself, and our third co-host was a gentleman who went by the name of the Aztec Warrior. That was his wrestling name. Because I remember, like, when I edited the intro for the show, I used the clip from Next Friday with old boy Baby Joker. I'm an Aztec Warrior. Like that was how, and like to his credit, he didn't have a problem with it. Like he thought it was funny. He understood the spirit that I was going for with the intro. But I think the guys that we talked to were friends of Alex's. And so they're like, hey, we want to talk about wrestling, what's going on currently in the WWE and some of these other federations and promotions. But we also want to talk about race in wrestling because I want to say this is in the aftermath. So like Kofi Mania has come and gone, nephew. And this might have even been there was some other racial event in wrestling that had happened. So I was invited.
Because that was 20.
No, this is before ACH.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is before. Because when was ACH? That was
2019.
That was 19. Okay, so it might have been. It might have been ACH.
Mania was 2019.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you had ACH. Damn, what a time to be alive. But yeah, so I think it was in the aftermath of Kofi Mania and maybe even the aftermath of the ACH Jordan Miles situation, which actually, ironically enough, was kind of the springboard to start the NWA podcast, which was here at the Kings of Sport first before we signed that contract and went mainstream with post wrestling. But anyway, so they invite me on the show.
How much was the entrance fee?
So John and Wade, they only charged us $50, but it was like $50 Canadian, so it was really like $75. I don't know how the exchange rate works, ladies and gentlemen. But going back to this show, so they invite me on to talk about these topics, and one of the guests they have on the panel is a young Alex Kane. And Alex Kane, like just immediately off the bat, like him and I had a good rapport on this show. He probably doesn't even remember it. If I brought it up to him, like he might remember it vaguely, but he probably doesn't even remember it because it was so long ago. But the thing that always stuck out to me, besides the fact that he was somebody who you could tell had a good grasp on his character, even though it was still kind of evolving and changing. But the other thing that stood out was he looked at me and, we were on camera, all of us. And he's like, "Hey, bro, are you a wrestler?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "No, well, he's like, yeah, like your traps and like your upper body look like you've been working out." And I'm like, "Well, here's the thing, Alex Kane. There's a reason why the camera cuts off at the waist. Because while it might look like I got a little definition up here on the upper body, once we get to that stomach, the gut area, it ain't nothing wrestler about this brother." But yeah, he's just like, "Yeah, you look like a big dude." I'm like, "Nah, man, like I'm like 5'7" in real life. My upper body look good, my legs look good, but that gut in the middle is off the whole operation here with your uncle nephew." But yeah, we all had a laugh about that, man. It was just like, yeah, like I've interacted with him on social media over the years, and he just seems to be somebody who obviously cares about his profession. But we've seen, nephew, a lot of people that are good wrestlers that if you interact with the person, it sours your opinion of them as a wrestler. And that is the complete opposite with Alex Kane. Like, he seems like a good dude. Like, the one time I interacted with him, he was a good dude, had his head on straight. So yeah, I think it's getting harder and harder in 2024, nephew, to root for people when stuff like, cause the last brother I rooted for, man, burned me bad, man. Jonathan Majors, dog. Like, I was here for Jonathan Majors as Kang, and then we saw what happened. So it's hard to root for people, man, because, human beings, regardless of whether they're actors, athletes, singers, wrestlers, they're people at the end of the day who are fallible. And I'm not saying Alex Kane is perfect, but he's a good dude, man, and somebody that I think you can feel safe in rooting for their success.
Yeah, I'm 100%, man. I agree. And I try not to, I'm pretty sure just like you, try not to put too much stock into, individuals that you don't know on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
But, it seems like a safe bet, to want to root for Alex Kane, man, and see what he does in the future. And, like you said, man, he going where the money go. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm pretty sure MLW could be in his future. He definitely didn't rule out staying with MLW, but you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind seeing Alex Kane in the TNA or WWE or AEW, man. If they looking for, but whether that's a one-off appearance or whether that's a full-time appearance, like, hey, man, we need,
not to already, put Alex Kane in a box where he's playing in conference games in the MEAC and the SWAC all the damn time. But if you listen to the NWA podcast, you know where I'm going here. But a dream match for me, like, I think there's a lot of great matchups out there for somebody like Alex Kane. Like, I think a Braun Breaker match that could slap. Your boy, who's my big guy that does the tsunami?
Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed and Alex Kane could slap a little bit. But for me, the match that I would be the most looking forward to if Alex were to go to WWE or AEW would be Alex Kane and Powerhouse Hobbs, man.
That'd be nice. That would actually be nice. You want to know what I was thinking? I was thinking.
What you got?
The next GCW / Josh Barnett Bloodsport. I need Alex Kane versus Bobby Lashley.
Woo! Okay. I see the vision, nephew.
That's what I need right there. Alex Kane versus free agent Bobby Lashley.
Yes. Hey, I know there may be some promoters, some bookers that listen to the Kings of Sport and listen to this program. You can make some money with this man, Alex Kane, because not only, nephew, is Boomaye for the people, but Boomaye is for the profits as well.
Exactly. I'm about to say, and Nate, guess what? They can have that idea for free.
For free. So, we ain't even going to charge you $100. More on that next episode. But before we get out of here, nephew, any final thoughts on the Suplex assassin himself, Alex Kane, or any thoughts on the future of this very program, Andrew Thompson Interviews, presented by the Kings of Sport?
Yeah, man. we was at when I was at Charlotte the Gathering, I tried to get some more additional interviews, but some things just didn't pan out. People have busy schedules and
Yeah.
busy tables, a lot of autographs, and I don't want to be that person that's like taking away potential money opportunities and business opportunities by having the table occupied and stuff. So I'm gonna try to do a better job at when it comes to these in-person interviews of maneuvering time-wise, so I can like find the perfect time to get somebody as a guest. We're going to have some more interviews in the future. I'm going to try to keep reaching out to people, and then when those interviews do come out, you'll see it on the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. You'll see it on the Post Wrestling site in the written version, and then, of course, as we see in this debut episode, you will see Andrew Thompson Interviews presented by Kings of Sport, the great Kings of Sport. And then, yeah, man, we're going to keep them coming. So the next time that I'm able to do an interview, we will be right back here, myself and brother Nate Hill, maybe even Ray Saber Jr. would join. You know what I'm saying? If I end up interviewing Kamala Harris, we're gonna have Dr. Ely on. You know what I'm saying? But I think if that ever happened, we gotta have Kamala on the NWA podcast. So she come talking shit about Trump.
You already know.
Just for the jokes. But
just John and Wade, get your comment filters ready because they gonna come out the woodwork, brother. But yeah.
I was gonna add this last thing, like just a repeat. We gonna when me and Nate gonna be back. I don't know when, but we gonna be back. I promise y'all. I'm gonna keep reaching out, and then we gonna put something out there. And guess what? If you want to sub to the Kings of Sport Patreon, $5, $5, not 100.
We're not even gonna charge you 100, just $5.
You get $5. You could either get a Kings of Sport Patreon sub, or you get you a $5 biggie bag. Listen, you ain't that hungry. So
do you want food that's going to last a day, or do you want some food for your mind, some food for thought, some food that feeds your soul, which you can get here at the Kings of Sport Patreon? Now, this first episode of Andrew Thompson Interviews is going up for free on the free feed just to give people a little taste, but all subsequent episodes of Andrew Thompson Interviews will be found right here on the Kings of Sport Patreon. So we appreciate y'all for listening and subscribing. And nephew, before we leave, let the people know where they can find you on social if they want to, give you some feedback on these episodes, or even maybe suggest some future interview subjects.
That's a good call, brother Nate. Good call. But you don't need to hear that because my man, you done been up and down these streets, brother.
I'm not new to this, nephew. I'm true to this. And I look like a wrestler from the waist up.
There you go.
According to Alex Kane.
But they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ATI Thompson __. Of course, Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. And then you can find me, find my written work over at the Post Wrestling site. A bunch of great work, including the NWA podcast, man, featuring myself, brother Nate, Two-Way Ray, and Dr. Chris Ely. Shout out to my good brothers. And Nate, we will be back, man. We will be back. I ain't gonna take no almost damn near year-long hiatus like last time. But we will be back as long as these, I just need a couple. All I need is an email back. That's all I need.
Right.
Just let me score the bucket and I'll finish the rest. But yeah, I appreciate you, brother Nate, for cooking up this idea and then bringing it to the forefront, bringing it to fruition, and then of course allowing me on the Kings of Sport platform, man. It's a great honor. And again, people, I'm gonna say this one more time: we will be back.
Who you trying to convince, nephew? The people or yourself?
Myself.
Hey, it bees that way sometimes, brother.
I'm trying to manifest, just like how Alex Kane.
Just like Alex Kane, you got to manifest it.
Just like how he manifested that MLW World Title reign. I'm trying to manifest and getting some more emails.
Yes. Yeah. So and wrestlers out there, man, like Andrew Thompson, don't be scared if this brother reaches out to you, because as you heard on the Alex Kane interview, he's not trying to get you some gotcha questions. He ain't here for that. He is just here to, give y'all a platform to talk about your life and your career and, let the audience know. Because I'm sure, like the listeners, they want to know more about these performers and they day to day. And so you do a great job with these interviews, nephew. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't, so you can watch the video version of the interviews, and check out Post Wrestling for the written version the transcripts of Andrew's interviews because it is good work. As for me, at in the number 8 MOZAIK at Nate Mosaic on Twitter. Follow the Kings of Sport, Cospod, KOS_POD on Twitter and on TikTok. If we don't promote the TikTok, Chris is going to yell at us, nephew, so we got to do that. And then finally, as Andrew mentioned, sign up for the Patreon. We're trying to get as many subscribers as we can, not just for the money, but also because, we want to have more interaction with the community, with the folks that listen to these episodes. And one of the ways we can do that is by doing exclusive shows on the Patreon, by doing, movie watch-alongs on the Patreon. I think Ray Williams during the basketball season wants to do more basketball watch-alongs like we did with the NBA Finals and the WNBA All-Star Game. So the more y'all support us with the Patreon, the more we can do different and cool things like that. So that's all I got, nephew. We gonna close the door on the first ever episode of Andrew Thompson Interviews presented by the Kings of Sport. Any last words, my man?
Nah, man. I just shout out to Alice Kane for taking the time to do the interview. Greatly appreciate him. And we'll see you all next time.
That's right, because there will be a next time. I feel like we should do like Marvel, like, when Spider-Man first showed up in Civil War, at the end of the movie, it's like Spider-Man will return, or at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy will return. I feel like at the end of this, we need to put up something for the people. Andrew Thompson Interviews will return. We promise. But yeah,
you put it out in the world, man. So
that's right. Just put it out there into the universe, and if you can perceive it, nephew, and believe it, then you can achieve it. Wow. And on that note, we will leave y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the first edition of Andrew Thompson Interviews presented by the Kings of Sport. Like Andrew said, this won't be the last time you hear from us on this program. I'm really excited about this concept, doing kind of the director's cut of Andrew's interviews. And we'll be back next time, not only with a brand new interview subject, but also Andrew with one of the hottest stories. If you enjoyed my Alex Kane story, like it was what it was, I'm not going to front like it was the greatest story in the world. But next time, I promise you, Andrew got a story that you won't believe.
I was about to say, Nate, and we're going to let people hear that. It's going to be on the Patreon feed for just $5.
Right, because you got to hear it. You got to hear it.
I'm about to say, but Nate, but not how much?
Not $100, only $5. So $5 next time whenever you see us promote this. If you want to hear Andrew Thompson's story, $5 gets you in the door. It's behind the paywall. So as it should be. So for the youngest in charge, my nephew, Andrew Thompson, I am the Godfather, Nate Milton. Appreciate y'all for checking out the first edition of Andrew Thompson Interviews presented by the Kings of Sport. And we will see y'all next time. We don't have like a sign-off yet, Andrew. We ain't thought that far ahead. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. But you know what? There will be a next time.
Talk to him, nephew.